Hello my bookish besties and welcome into today's video. I am so sorry that I've missed the last 2 weeks of videos, which I don't know if any of you noticed, but I definitely noticed, and I am super ready to be back. So this is officially my welcome back. I thought I could ease back into things with a little October reading wrap up. I just got so busy in October unexpectedly. We had a Halloween party that I spent like a whole entire week preparing for, and then obviously a whole weekend recovering from, and then the week after that I was just super busy at work and with my life, and so yeah, I just missed 2 weeks and I'm really sorry about that. To be fair though, y'all didn't miss much because during those 2 weeks I barely read. So my October reading wrap up is still good, but it is smaller than I was anticipating. If you watched my end of year TBR video, you probably would know that the TBR I set for October was astronomically wild. Yeah, I don't know who I thought I was. I think I planned for like 12 books or something like that, but 2 of them were Brandon Sanderson over 1,000-page books, so I don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, I kind of went into a massive reading slump at the end of October. I started, I think it said at one point on Goodreads I had 10 books started, and I hadn't finished any of them. But you know what? It's a new month. We are back. We're better than ever. The books that I did read in October, I liked a majority of them, and I'm really excited to talk about them with you. So let's go ahead and get into the stats. Okay, so in October I read 7 books, which is still really good actually, considering I had a reading slump. That being said, I do think 2 of them are technically books that I started during a different month, but I finished them in October, so. But of those 7 books, the combined total pages was 3,611. But again, some of them, maybe take out 500-ish pages, because Words of Radiance, I read most of that, I think. Well, no, I read only probably 200 pages. But Noticadia, that's one of the books we'll talk about. I did read a majority of that in September, but it took me literally forever to finish, so And then my average star rating was a 3.28, which I do think might be my lowest monthly average probably ever. I really need to start keeping track of these so that I can know, but here we are. But I'm actually surprised it's that high. I literally rated 2 of these books a 2-star, and I feel like the rest of them were all 3, so. But anywho, let's go ahead and discuss the books themselves. The first book I finished in October was Words of Radiance. This is the second book of the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. I won't go too in-depth into it because it is the second book in a series, and I do have a whole entire vlog dedicated to this book. But basically, the Stormlight Archive is a fantasy war book that takes place on an alternate world, basically, and we follow this cast of, I would say, probably 5 main characters as they explore what it means to be human, what it means to discover powers and things about yourself you didn't know you had, and what it means to not necessarily get everything you want. A lot of our characters, they struggle with identity. They don't really know who they are. Things in their life have recently changed, and this book continues that journey for them. And it was so good. I rated it 5 stars. This book is fantastic. It is the highest rated book on Goodreads, if you somehow didn't know. And I'll be honest, I think it deserves that title. It was phenomenal. I had such a good time reading it. There are a couple scenes in here that were so good. There's a fight scene in particular that was probably one of the best books, scenes I've ever read, period. And I am really excited that I read this. I'm currently reading the 3rd one, Oathbringer. We'll see when I finish, because I technically also started that in October. But yeah, that's Words of Radiance. The next book I read was Edgedancer, also by Brandon Sanderson. This is the little novella that takes place in between books 2 and 3 of the Stormlight Archive. This novella follows a side character that we meet during Words of Radiance, and this is basically an in-depth exploration of her story. I did this 3 stars. I thought it was okay. I kind of feel like this story was a waste of time. Personally, I don't care about the background of the character, and maybe my feelings will change once I see them again in future stories, but it just felt mostly repetitive to what we already learned in Words of Radiance. At least in the physical copy, the hardback I have, the first 60-ish pages were literally what was already in Words of Radiance. And then I obviously did tab some stuff, so not all of it was a waste. Like, we got some interesting, like, world building lore, but I just don't know that I needed that. But anyhow, I do discuss this in depth in the Words of Radiance video if you want, like, my full, actually thought out thoughts of this. But yeah, read this. Next, I finished Project Hail Mary. I rated this a 3-star. I just didn't love it as much as everyone else. Once again, I do have a vlog where I read this and I really go in depth of my feelings. So if you want to see that, I'll go ahead and link that down below, and I'll probably put a card up here. But yeah, basically, this book follows an astronaut. He wakes up and he is like trying to solve some problems and save the world. And that's pretty much all I can tell you without spoiling much, because this is one of those stories that's really fun to go into blind. I think my expectations were a little too high, to be honest. Like, I feel like everyone says this is a god tier book, and for me it just wasn't. Like, it definitely wasn't a bad book. I just think that I went in with too high of expectations, and I couldn't really relate to our main character very much. That being said, I am really looking forward to the movie. I think Ryan Gosling will do a really good job. And I'm really excited to see what they do with some of the plot lines in this story. I think that they potentially will have to change some stuff just because of like how the timeline's laid out in this book. So I'm really curious to see what they do. But yeah, that's Project Hail Mary. Okay, next I read The Gracier. I rated this 2 stars. I really did not like this book at all. I don't want to get into it too much because I've already, like I said, did vlog my reading experience with this. So I do have a full like rant, spoiler free mix of the both review that I once again have linked. It's the same one as the Project Hail Mary vlog. But yeah, I just I didn't like it. The story didn't work for me. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the messaging. Like, the messaging was a good message. I just didn't like that it was so in your face. I don't really like when books do that. I don't really care for books that are show not tell, or no, tell not show. I don't like it when they're in your face with the message, you know? Like, I want to leave a book and be like, whoa, this is what I got out of it. I left this book being like, wow, I got preached at for 400 pages. But, you know, read this if you want. I don't want to get too far into it, like I said, but I did read it, so it's here. Okay, the next book I read was The Everlasting. This is by Alex E. Haro. I believe this book, like, just released, but I was lucky enough to receive an advanced listener's copy of this book, and I rated it 4 stars. I do, however, want to reread this book. I went ahead and ordered a copy from Book of the Month. That should be here later this week, because, honestly, I am not fully sure that just listening to it, I fully grasped the story, but it was still really good. Like, I still rated it 4 stars, and I still really liked it, but I was confused. But part of that's on me. I didn't read the back of the book. So basically what this book is about, we meet our main character. I forgot his name already, but we meet him, and he is a professor at a college, or maybe he's a student. I don't know. I'm not doing a really good job explaining this book, but like I said, I was kind of confused. Anywho, basically, we follow this man, and he finds this like academic journal about this knight, and he becomes down bad obsessed with the story of this knight, like to the point he's like doing all this research. He's like reading the book, translating it, etc. And then somehow he ends up basically like time traveling back to meet the knight. So you follow him and this knight, Sir Una Lasting, on their just like epic journey to discover themselves and try to rewrite the past, try to rewrite the future. And it was just crazy. It was a really crazy book, and I didn't read the blurb, so there was so many times that stuff would happen and I was like, I'm sorry, what? But yeah, it's such an odd book. I would highly recommend. Like, I really like A Knight's Tale right now, I think. Like, just something about knights is really speaking to me in this current period of life. And this one I thought was done really well. And it was unlike any other book I've ever read. The like narrative storytelling in this is super unique. It's basically told as if the main character is speaking to you. Like, it's told in such a way where it sounds like you're reading his diary almost, but he's also like, it's told as if he's talking to you, but he's also talking to Sir Una Everlasting. So it's got this weird like storytelling dynamic that was just so fun to read and super unlike anything else I've ever read before. Next, I finished Noticadia. If you have watched the last couple of videos of mine, you would probably know that I started this back in literally August. I probably should have just DNF'd this book, but I just couldn't. By the time I got kind of to the point where I was like, okay, I'm over it, I only had an hour left of the audiobook. So I did go ahead and power through, but I did go ahead and rate it 2 stars. So basically, in Noticadia, we follow this girl whose mom dies of a mysterious illness, and she thinks that like no one believes her about this illness, so she takes a creative writing class basically and writes about the illness and is like, oh well, if no one believes me, it's just made up in my head, so I'm gonna use it as my fake story. But then this college reads her essay and basically recruits her into this academic program to study said disease. And it was good until it wasn't. Like, the portion of the book where she is studying the disease was super interesting to me. Like, I really, really liked the mystery and the drama and the tension and all of that kind of stuff. But the second we went into the romance, that's where it lost me. This book was so incredibly spicy, and I usually don't care about spice, but this was like a 5 out of 5 star chili pepper spicy rating. Like, it was extreme to the point that it was kind of like, what's the point, you know? And I didn't love that. Also, it's like a student-professor relationship. Didn't really like that either. Like, their dynamic just didn't feel right to me. I think I could get behind a student-professor relationship if it felt right. This one felt very weird, and then the ending, I just feel like I got no answers. So yeah, overall, really didn't like this, and I'm so upset because I feel like this is one of those, like, this is like the dark romance. Like, this is everyone's favorite book, 5 out of 5, no matter what, no questions asked. And I am really sad to report that I just didn't feel that way. But you know what? Reading is subjective, so oh well. But yeah, ended up rating Noticadia 2 stars. And then last but not least, in the month of October, I finished Belladonna. This is a gothic, like, murder mystery kind of romance, where our main character, what is her name? Signa. I wanted to say Serena. Our main character, Signa, basically has some sort of like curse, I guess. I don't remember if it's explained, but she can see and interact with death, and everyone around her is always dying. And she loses one of her guardians and gets sent to a new home where she discovers that the aunt, like the mother figure of this house, has passed away. And she basically gets tasked by the aunt lady's ghost to try and figure out what happened to her. Nobody knows. Was she murdered? Was it an accident? What happened? And her daughter, the like aunt figure's daughter, is also sick with a similar disease. So Signa gets tasked with, can she figure out what's happening at the manor? And so we follow Signa as she kind of like, you know, solves this mystery, discovers stuff about herself. She is just a 19-year-old girl that can somehow interact with death. This is one of those books that's like kind of mostly vibes, I feel like. Like, the plot was good, but I feel like it could have been stronger. From what I've heard, though, the next 2 books in this trilogy are really, really, really good, so I'm really, really excited to continue. I did still rate this 4 stars, which is a really good rating. It's just, there were a couple times I found myself kind of bored. Like, I just don't know if Regency era in this kind of style is for me. Like, I don't know that I really care about the balls and the courting and all of that, but the murder mystery and the family and the just like the overall vibes kind of kept me going. And the ending was crazy. My jaw was on the ground. I didn't see any of it coming, so 4 stars. pretty good book. I'm excited to read the next couple. That being said, though, I think all y'all lied to me. I will stand by this. I think this is a winter book. Everyone said, oh, it's a fall Halloween book. No. This is a winter book. It literally takes place during like snow and all of that. It is a winter book. I don't regret reading it during Halloween, but the only part of it that like gave that like Halloween vibes was the fact that she can interact with death. Everything else was giving winter. Winter. Even like the coloring is a winter book. Like, hello, but that's my only regret, if you could even call it that. But anywho, that is a recap of the 7 books that I read during October. I don't know, I'm looking around me, probably like 6 more that I started in October that I just never got around to finishing. Like I said, I did experience a mild reading slump in the month of October, and I got super busy, but I'm thinking if I just kind of like hunker down, I can finish at least 4 of those 6, maybe in the next couple of days, and then, yeah, gonna have a really long month ahead of me again. Exactly 1 month from today is Dragonsteel Nexus, so I really need to hunker down and get to reading. Speaking of, let's quickly run through my November TBR. Okay, I'm going to be honest, if you watched the video that I previously mentioned, my end of year TBR, the books I chose for November, just like wipe them from your brain, okay? My main goal is to finish at least 1 more Brandon Sanderson. That's like a non-negotiable for me. I have to do that. I really, really want it to be Oathbringer. I've already started it. And then I'd really like to read at least 1 book from Mistborn Era 2. That being said, everything else I read in the month of November, if I do any reading, is going to be, without a doubt, mood reading. Because I feel like part of the reason I got in such a bad slump in October is I had such a massive stack of all these books that I was like, well, I have to read these. It's October and that's the only time to read them, which wasn't very fair to me and my mental health. So I think the plan is to finish these couple books that are sitting around me. Hopefully I can. I really like all of them. I just like can't read, you know? And then I do have a stack of 3 books here that I would really like to get to ASAP. One of them is a book club book, and then the other 2 are like just strictly vibes, just kind of what I'm in the mood for. The first one is If It Makes You Happy. This is by Julie Olivia. I feel like everyone and their mother has been reading this recently, and I really want to hop on that bandwagon. This cover is like literally my husband, my dog, and I. So I feel like it'd be a disservice to not read this pretty soon. Also, my book club, this is the book that we're planning to read soon. So I really want to get to this. I'm thinking this might be the next book I read, kind of as a little palate cleanser. I haven't read a romance in quite a long time, so I'd really like to get to this one. But it is so long. It's like almost 500 pages, which is crazy for a romance if you ask me, but might go ahead and use my Spotify hours for the month to kind of dual read this. I'm really excited. I'm really in the mood for a romance right now, I think, and obviously this one is just perfect. Like, look at it. The next book that I'd really like to get to sooner rather than later is The Second Death of Locke. This is by V.L. Bovalino. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but again, this is one that's kind of like really trendy right now. It's kind of going around making its you know, rounds around the town. But this book is basically about a lady knight who is trying to protect her like mage best friend who she also is in love with, and I've heard the tension and the yearning in this is just so good. I believe it is the first book to a trilogy. I believe it's supposed to be a trilogy, but like look at the vibes and the cover. I really think that I need something like this to read because I love Brandon Sanderson, but I have been way too down bad in the like strictly fantasy world. I need a little bit of yearning, and I think this will be the cure. And last but not least, heavily on my radar is Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. The 3rd book was just announced. We have a title and a like kind of cover vibe, and it is supposed to come out next September, and I am ecstatic. I read Ninth House last month, I believe, or 2 months ago. I read it in September, and I loved it. It is my best friend's favorite book, and So we're kind of thinking about maybe going to Connecticut next year when the book comes out, kind of doing a Yale tour reading weekend. That would be so much fun. So let me know if you have any Yale recommendations. But anywho, I just feel like I need to do myself a service. Is that even the right phrasing? It would be doing myself a disservice to not read this ASAP. I had such a good time reading Hellbent, reading Ninth House, that I am just like, I'm itching to read this. I almost read this like the literal day I finished Ninth House, and then I was like, no, I gotta slow down. But it's time. Like this genuinely might be the next thing I pick up. A little nervous because a lot of people say this isn't as good as Ninth House, but also like, I don't care. I'm so excited to read more about Darlington and Alex and Dawes. Guys, I love Dawes. I really think she's my favorite character of the series so far. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this. And I'm also really, really happy that there's finally, I mean, I know I'm really late to this fandom, obviously, but I'm so happy that there's finally an estimated date. I mean, we don't know the exact Tuesday in September that it'll come out, but we finally have. That was kind of rude. I ran out of storage. Anywho, what I was saying is we don't know the exact Tuesday in September that the third Ninth House series book will come out, but I'm kind of hoping maybe it'll be September 1st because that's my birthday, and I think it'd be really cool. But yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember what else I said before my camera stopped recording. Yeah, I have no thoughts, actually. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I spoke for another like 10 minutes before I realized that my storage was full. I think what I was saying was I am really excited for November, but it is going to be really busy. We are going to be out of town quite a lot in November. Like, I'm pretty sure every single weekend we're busy, but that's just the life of holiday seasons. But one of two things could happen. I could either become so busy to the point that I like don't read, period, or it could be one of those weird months where I read like 35 books because I'm constantly on the road, out of town, nothing else to do. So I guess we'll just have to see what happens, huh? I'm really excited. I think it'll be a good month. I am a little stressed though because, like I mentioned, Dragonsteel is really soon, and just the fact that it's like literally a month from today is bonkers to me. I'm like getting kind of stressed, but I'm excited. The fact that like the year in general is almost over is stressful to me, but again, I'm excited. And yeah, hopefully we all have a really good reading month, reading end of year. But anywho, thank you so much for watching. I really hope to catch you in the next one. I promise that I am hopefully going to become less inconsistent with my videos. It's just so hard. My camera is always dead or out of storage. Like, I work full time. I have a life, obviously, but I'm trying really, really hard, and I hope you guys appreciate it, and I appreciate you so much for being here and for all of the support. And yeah, I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you so much for being here, and I really hope to catch you in the next one.